Well, hello everyone. Welcome to week 2 of Formula G Season 3. My name is Zotomo, and I'm joined as always by my co-caster Calamity. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, we've got a really interesting country lined up for us this week. We are headed to the small Balkan state of Montenegro. Calamity. And in our kind of reveal video, you talked. This was one of the countries you were, I guess, not afraid of, but we're not looking forward to.
Less enthusiastic about, yes.
There we go. So yeah, what again? In short, perhaps your thoughts on Montenegro?
Yeah, basically, Montenegro isn't very generous with signage.
Mm.
So you occasionally get signs if you cross sort of a municipality border. Occasionally, not always. Um, you occasionally get signs when you mostly get signs when you enter villages. But if you're out there in the middle of nowhere and there's no village, then you probably won't get any signs either. Um, and a lot of the signs you get in more rural areas are sort of towards very, very small towns that you have to zoom in super far into the map for. The one good thing about Montenegro, I guess, is that not that much of it is covered.
Mm.
You've usually got kind of similar to North Macedonia, where you've mostly got the yellow roads covered, but just slightly more. There's a couple of white roads that, like, when I say white and yellow, I mean the color on Google Maps, that are covered as well. But overall, mostly just the yellow ones. Landscape wise, it is a relatively diverse country, but
Mm.
similarly to some of the others we've had before, similarly to Spain as well, for example, you can't really tell too well just by the landscape on where you are because a lot of it is kind of diverse but similar, if you know what I mean. Like
Mm.
there's a lot of mountain regions, there's some flatter regions around Podgorica. It's pretty flat, but overall not the most helpful.
Yeah, there are pretty distinct areas, but just kind of like Spain, they cover kind of broad swathes of the country. That it's like, oh, I'm in the mountains.
Yeah.
That helps me narrow down, to 50% of the country, but that's about it, right?
Yep.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how our drivers handle this. Our lineup today is Mr. Blue and Carp, the Katsuruvatsa duo. Calamity, we've got you in third. Pluki, first timer on the show, in fourth, and Lunacy wrapping us up in round number 5. So let's just jump in here then with Mr. Blue in round number 1. And ooh, this is a way to start a map. Beautiful coastline.
Yep. Gives more of a lake feeling than really the ocean because you do have mountains on every kind of side you can see. And Mr.
Mm.
Blue is quick to be like, hey, probably this Bay of Kotor area.
Yeah, definitely his practice would have given him that, and the scenery probably quite recognizable.
Yeah, there's also not very many big lakes in Montenegro. There's a few, but most of them aren't really surrounded by, let me call this I mean, it's not really a big road, but
Mm.
it's a it's at least a road with it's population.
Yeah, there's people here, even a few boats to go along with them. But
Mm.
again, as you see, there we've had pretty much zero signs about where we could be, and there's something really going on with his computer when he's recording this.
Yeah,
We
it's
can,
not the highest
well,
speed we've ever seen.
there we go.
But
That'll be
there's a nice map. Yep.
as well as the village name at the bottom.
Oh, is that the village name?
Yeah, it said welcome to do something.
Donji Stolif, I assume, looking at the
Yeah.
map here. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that map, but I never saw that name.
It
It
was a
was
bit
like
of a
white. It was like white on blue.
yeah, it was like a almost a light blue on blue.
Ah, there we
So
go.
as you can tell, it's not us. His mouse is moving fine. Uh, it's just his computer's having some trouble with this one.
Yeah. The thing is, you don't necessarily need the city name to find this location.
Mm.
Just judging by where the bay is and where you can see the mountains in the background. You've got plenty of information to go with, or to, to find out where you are, and then you can just, look at where the 700,000 hotels are that you've got here.
Yeah. Oh, there's a camping site as well.
Mm.
Lots of little guest houses. I don't know if they're really even hotels, just maybe B&Bs or so.
Yeah, I think partially both. Like if you just zoom into this area on the map and follow along the water line,
Mhm.
you'll find like I'd say about 100 hotels just on this side of the water.
You can see them all right there. Those pink map pins.
There's probably more hotels than regular houses.
Yeah, I bet all the regular people got pushed out. That's probably what happened.
Mm.
Well, you don't see too many residents. Got to figure out what exact spot he is in. There's a little bit of a dock.
Yeah, you do actually you spawn pretty much right next to Eva Apartments, and
Mhm.
there is a sign for that as well. But I assume Mr. Blue just hasn't seen it yet.
It does seem that a little bit off, but that'll work for him. 5,000 nonetheless, 12 meters off. He's kind of hoping that rectangular outcrop was that jetty, and it looks like it was, but he needed to start a little bit further south to be able to pick up the distance, at least on Boxa, which we can see was pretty close on there. A very beautiful round, Calamity. Not the hardest one to find. How did everyone else do?
Yeah, 5Ks for Pluki and me as well, with Carp dropping about 67 points by just being a few corners further south. And Lunacy not really finding much other than, he's in that kind of a bay area
Mm.
and dropping about 1,300 points.
Yeah, that big sign that Mr. Blue saw on his way to town was definitely a vital help if you didn't quite know where in the bay you were. But other than that, not too challenging for everybody. Well, let's see what round two has for us as we move to Mr. Blue's teammate in Carp uh, in round number two. And by a lake again and a railroad. So, not a bridge, but this kind of narrow straight, as you can see, pretty recognizable.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
gonna be one of these.
there's exactly one bridge crossing a lake in all of Montenegro, I think.
And this is it. There we go.
Yep.
So should be pretty recognizable to anybody who put in even the slightest bit of practice or even just map looking
Yeah,
just to pick up.
take one look at the map and you shouldn't have any problems with this location.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, it is on a very, long straight bridge and
Mm.
not the easiest to make sure that you're within the 25-meter leeway that you've got to 5K this.
Yeah, that would make it a little bit harder. Don't know what much you could use to try to pinpoint. Look directly south. What do you see directly south of you?
There is actually a castle or like a fort on a small little outcrop to the east, which you can
Mm.
kind of use. And, you also see like the green little space around the road on the map. Um, so you can kind of just maybe count steps towards each of those reference points.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that gives you a rough estimate of where you have to be.
Yep. And sure enough, there he goes with about 2 minutes gone. He's going to start counting those steps. That bridge.
Yep, that bridge is exactly where this little green area around the street ends.
Mm.
So I'm assuming he hasn't realized that, and that's why he's continuing to click further.
Yeah, but pretty good tips there from Carp about how to pinpoint your location on a straight road. Look into the distance, see if you can't triangulate your position the good old-fashioned way. What is directly south? And he will put a pretty nice guess in 6 meters away. Not too bad. A second ace for him, it looks like, in that one. Everybody else pretty much been able to find that one as well, Calamity, I would assume.
Yeah, not a second ace for Carp because you didn't get an ace in round
Oh,
one,
that's right.
but
Sorry.
Yeah, out of all the players playing this, everyone found the location, of course, but quite a few people dropping points. Overall, it was only 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people who got a perfect game there, so less than
Mm.
half, just about. I did, Pluki did as well, and yeah, Lunacy and Mr. Blue both dropping a very similar amount of points, 17 for Lunacy and 18 for Mr. Blue.
Just trouble pinpointing on that long straight stretch.
Yeah, they guess pretty much the exact same spots, just about 80 meters too far west.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's see what you can do, Calamity, in round number
Mm-hmm.
3. And as we can see from this, it looks like we head to the mountains for a change.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what you're talking about. There's quite a few signs right there for you.
Yeah, it is an exception to the rule,
Yeah.
but there are a few there, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they were the most helpful of signs, but there were signs. So,
Yeah, that was actually a pretty good sign because it had a few cities on it. Cities slash towns.
mm-hmm. That and a couple more signs again for that same kind of
Yeah,
camping.
it's the same sign, but just on the other side.
And a pretty north-south facing road. Give you a nice place to look at. And as you mentioned, the coverage is pretty limited to those major yellow roads on the map. So, oh, there we go.
Yep. Another
Welcome.
exception.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the canyoning, canoeing, whatever it is, guest house that the signs were for.
Yeah. And there's the municipality, but way up along the road.
Yeah, I'm
So
just checking
obviously,
if there's anything else.
mm-hmm.
The rafting center up there. Because obviously I've now found this POI for the guest house, but
Mm-hmm.
you can't really know if that was literally the buildings I saw at the start, or if
Yeah.
it was just signs for something that's, hey, that's 10 kilometers that way. But with that sign now for Donja Dobrilovina, that gives me everything I need to know. I didn't realize, I didn't see if I actually saw the town name there.
It was
Um,
it's just down, just kind of southeast of your location
yeah,
on the
yeah.
map, and so you definitely close now. Actually, being able to pinpoint the location is going to be the tricky thing. There is a tunnel along the road that can be used if you can find it. Directionality, a small pathway leading off of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
We have an S curve down to the south. Minute and a half left to go, using that checkpoint to your advantage.
The
Have you
checkpoint, which was literally one click away from where it already was, yes.
have you been finding that useful to use that checkpoint feature or?
Yeah, I have. But
Mm,
mostly, like, when I originally heard that it was implemented, I thought it was mostly going to be for, like, putting a checkpoint at stuff like signs where you might want to come back to. But
mm,
I've actually found it far more useful to just go one direction for like a minute and a half, then set a checkpoint, and then go the other direction from the start.
mm,
So that you can always, if the other direction turns out to be a dead end, you can always go back to where you've already were. And it just saves you a lot of time and allows you to go both ways without any risk of, getting stuck somewhere and then having to waste time coming back to seeing just the same things you've already seen.
yeah. And with about 30 seconds, you're looking pretty confident that those are in fact the houses, and they
Yep.
are a nice ace for you there in that one. So just kind of a bit of a gamble, but it did seem to fit all the clues that you did have, Calamity.
Yeah, I did double check with the roads that
Mhm.
that the curves were right and everything. It was just not the easiest to pinpoint the exact place because, as you can see, the road that went off of the main road, the little path wasn't on the map. So I just had to try and, work with the next curve to the north, next curve to the south, and maybe guess how far the house is away. And it just about paid off with 25 meters, 1 meter further, and it would have been a point loss there.
Mhm. Yeah, very close. In that one, how did everybody else do, Calamity?
No aces for
Ooh.
the other four drivers here. Overall, just I think 7 aces or so. Fluky dropping about 800 points. Carp was out of the other four the closest with 65 points dropped.
Mhm.
So quite similar to his round one. And yeah, Lunacy and Mr. Blue a bit more lost in this round, 20 and 23 kilometers further away, which in Montenegro only gives you about 2,000 points.
Mhm. Yeah, so only you, Calamity, on a perfect game of our four drivers here. So let's
Mm.
see what will happen in round number 4 with first time driver in Formula G, as well as the first time on this cast, Pluki, in round number 4, who likes to record his videos in very unique resolutions. So we'll get a compact version of the gameplay in this one. And right away, hit a dead end,
Yep.
going south, and we'll head north. You can see that little antenna from the car, so we're going backwards, so to speak.
Mm. There won't be too much to see in this round, so it's not much of an issue, his resolution.
Mm-hmm.
This is more so the typical Montenegro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mountainside. But yeah, no signs, unlike the
No
last
signs.
one. No signs to help you out. Oh, there was that something or just a black square on his screen?
I'm gonna
Unloaded.
assume it was a black square.
Yeah, just an
Yeah.
unloaded bit of image rather than the actual sign, because he didn't seem to slow down or care about it.
Mm.
So yeah, we're kind of in the northeast half of the country, but that's about all you've got. One rundown house next to the road.
Mm.
So again, this is going to come down to how well do you know coverage.
Yep.
Just and that's
And
not
another
a
dead end.
bad curve. That's just a dead end. Okay, well, a very unfortunate round. We'll have two dead ends with a pretty long stretch of road, but with no information on it whatsoever.
Yep, still a dead end to the south. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just double checking. Go back, see if you've missed anything along that route, I guess. But now it's just going to come down to our driver's knowledge of the road coverage that this might even be, and a guess from there. Gonna reload the location, hoping maybe that'll do something. But yeah, well, one interesting thing here, Calamity, is that we were just on another mountain road in the last round, which was kind of far up in that far, not the, how am I supposed to say this, northeast, the furthest northeast yellow road, and that's not this one. So you might be able to
Well, I
rule that
mean,
one out, or
there's a few more roads further northeast than the one we've just had. And I also think that just because it's one road, it can still change landscape if you travel the whole country on it. Um, but yeah, it did look very different from this.
yeah, I guess yeah, that P10 might be a candidate. Cookie seeming to go for that, but
Yeah, that's one road that's, for example, further northeast than the one we just had.
looking for that at the northern dead end of this of the coverage, there is a big switchback. So looking for
Mm.
that might be something to go for. He seems to be looking for something like that that might match the road direction.
Yeah,
But
the P10, by the way, the because you said like the northeast of the country is very mountainous. That's actually the area that's beginning to be less mountainous over there. That
near the
borders
border,
Serbia. Yeah,
there's a couple
where it
switchbacks
sort of
on this
goes.
run,
Yeah, where it sort of goes from mountainous to hilly.
and he will get very lucky on that one. I
Mm,
think he did put his pin down there, Calamity, because the direction fit. There was some of those switchbacks, but I mean that's all we really
mm.
had in that short little stretch of road. So a bit of luck there for him, perhaps. And I don't know of how many other drivers were that lucky.
Not a lot of them. Fun fact about this one, because you can look at the location right now and you'll see there is no U-turn at the end of it where it should be.
Mm,
Because one of the reasons why Google coverage can get removed, and the reason in this case why it was removed, I assume, it doesn't always have to be that, but it can be, is that the road layout on the map does not fit with the road layout in real life.
mm,
It's just wrong on the map. That may be because, I don't know, the people in Montenegro decided the road has to go a different way. Maybe the data that Google has is bad. Maybe something is just outdated. And because of that, Google Street View can only exist where there is a road on the map. If there's no road, then there will be no, well, at least no car Google Street View coverage. You can still have trekkers and stuff like that, but
mm,
you know. And because the road in real life goes a different way from the road in Street View, the coverage just isn't there because it would have to go away from the road on the map.
I see. Interesting. Well, that caused a bit of problems for our drivers and quite a few low scores then that might have resulted from this one. How did everybody else do? We see Pluki here 4,550, but
Yep, that was by far the most out of our drivers' points. Lunacy with 2,300, still with a decent score, but he's already dropped quite a lot of points in the 3 rounds earlier.
mm,
Um, Harp 1,400, me with about 1,000 points, and Mr. Blue with about 600 points.
a very rough round for that one. Well, let's see how we finish up our tour of Montenegro in round number 5 with Lunacy. He is down quite a bit on points. We can see 13,104. And we'll see if he can at least try for an ace here to get the most points he can possibly get in this final round to give himself a shot. But with that round
Mm-hmm.
4 Calamity, I definitely would say we're definitely open to some unusual drivers getting some points this week. If
Yeah,
there
for
might have been
sure.
some bad guesses and some lucky guesses on the other
Although,
hand too.
usually the problem is usually the people who find such locations aren't really the ones that are, normally struggling with the other locations as well. Um, and even if you do find the location and some of the, in quotation marks, better drivers do not, there were still plenty of other not so easy locations in the
Mm.
seeds. So might not be enough to just make up a few thousand points in that round to really catapult yourself up there.
Mm. And another sort of hilly slash mountainous road, and there is a bit of a village name there that Lunacy is going to be looking for, but unable to find it. This looks like some sort of road marker, but I don't know if the 2 is actually the right number for anything. I wouldn't trust that.
Um, I'm looking on the map. The location they are at right now is actually the M2, but I'm
Oh,
not sure if that is a complete coincidence or if that actually
is
is
intended.
what
Ooh.
the road marker is telling. Yeah.
Oh, there's the coast. That's a very good view, which means he's got to get near the coastline. There is an M. Is that 2.3?
Yep.
Good old Montenegro.
Yep.
Ocean
There's a
to the.
2.4 as well.
Yeah, I saw that. So we're pretty close to the coast. There's the M2, sure enough.
Yeah, it's also put it right in Novoselje, which was the town that he had on the
Yeah, and
sign.
there's the church as well. Um,
Mm.
as a point of interest. So he is in the right area. He's just got to figure out what curve of this windy road he is in fact in.
He's got plenty of time for it though, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Yeah, still about just under a minute and a half. But is Montenegro the only country in the world that uses a decimal system for its roads?
It might be,
Mm,
if you ask me like that. I don't know of
yeah,
any other right now.
it's not a bad idea. Just don't think you ever see it. Usually they just go with bigger numbers,
Yeah,
right? So they would just call it the M24, not the M2.4. But
exactly. Or they do it like countries like the US or South Africa do, where they make roads that like are close to each other or like run parallel to each other, have similar names,
mm,
like Interstate 85 and then Interstate 185 and 285 and 385.
yeah. And oh, that'll be a very good pinpoint with time to spare. So, not the easiest game for him, Lunacy, but finishes up with a nice ace there, 5 meters away. As good as he could have hoped for in the final round, of course. For that, everybody else catching that glimpse of the coastline was probably the biggest clue to help you start searching for this one, Calamity.
Yeah, definitely. It does seem like most people managed to find at least the right sort of general location. Aces for Pluki and Miss. No, just for Pluki as well here. And a few points dropped by me and Carp, about 100 to 200. And then Mr. Blue really struggling with this whole seed, only getting 20 points in this last round there. Uh, Guessed all the way in the north of the country, about as far away as you can possibly guess. Um,
Mm,
and yeah, overall, that means fourth place for Pluki, seventh and eighth for Carp and me, 18th for Lunacy, and 23rd and second last for Mr. Blue.
that's been unfortunate. Perhaps he just kind of gave up on that final round, hoping for a better position in the sprint race. It doesn't sound like it, but it might have just been a really bad guess. Saw some mountains, didn't catch a glimpse of the coast if he went the wrong way, perhaps. And yeah, it's unfortunate to see from Mr. Blue there. But luckily, his teammate's still in the points in this one. So yeah, if you want to see more and how everybody else did in this week of Formula G, head over to our Formula G show on the channel, and you can catch the full stats and standings for that. And we'll see you then. Take care.
Bye.